Hello and welcome back. With the release date of Swarm swiftly approaching, I just wanted to make a kind of pre-release video basically. Everything's done now. The manuscript is finished and uploaded. The book cover is finished. I've got a kind of rough Amazon ads campaign set up, which is ready to go. Everything's pretty much done, so I just wanted to make a video today to read a couple of excerpts from the story. Now, in case you missed my last video, Swarm is basically about a huge pyramid-shaped prison where the prisoners are kind of bedbound and comatose, and their brains are wired up to a central computer at the top of the pyramid. It's a very strange, weird sci-fi story. And this first excerpt I'm going to read you is from a chapter titled Cattle to an Abattoir, because the chapters are actually named instead of numbered. This one's called Cattle to an Abattoir, and it's written from the perspective of the main protagonist, which is a man called Eric Trammell. And he is witnessing the old prisons being emptied out and the prisoners being taken away to this new pyramid-shaped prison. So here we go, excerpt 1. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the authorities were keen on giving GLC the go-ahead, and so the construction of Swarm was soon underway. It was an operation unlike anything Eric had ever seen before. Consisting of glass, steel and concrete, Swarm resembled a kind of modern-day Egyptian pyramid. Built on a vast patch of unoccupied grassland down in the southern district, the numerous tiers and levels of the structure rose 400 feet up into the sky, with each subsequent floor reducing in width towards the pointy tip that pierced the clouds. The lower floors of the building were to house the influx of inmates yet to be transferred to the facility, and the top floor, the lofty summit of the structure, would serve as a processing hub, or so he was told. Without being a high enough rank within the company to be granted an early entry into the gigantic structure, Eric was restricted for the time being to viewing Swarm from the outside, monitoring its process and progress from a distance until its grand official opening. One thing he did witness close up, however, was the emptying of the prisons, and it was a horrendous, ugly affair. Large teams of GLC riot officers worked their way through the many correctional facilities, cell by cell, dragging furious inmates kicking and screaming down corridors and out into waiting transportation vehicles. Rumours of this revolutionary new program had been in circulation among the prison population beforehand, and fear and anxiety had been running high for some time. Some prisoners went peacefully, allowing themselves to be cuffed and escorted away by the intimidating GLC riot personnel, but most were reluctant to leave the cosy familiarity of their current surroundings, forcing the riot officers to use their batons and pepper spray before carrying them away. Eric's role within this particular part of the operation was of an administrative nature, but he'd been close enough to the action to taste the fear and loathing in the air within the prisons, and the sight of the bedraggled inmates being pushed and carried past him along the narrow landings and wings of the old jails had reminded him of cattle being taken to an abattoir, with the transportation vehicles out on the street serving as the human cattle trucks. That's the description of the old prisons being emptied out. It's quite a disturbing book, and I've made it that way intentionally. Very disturbing, very weird. The second excerpt I want to read you is about the fault screens. A big theme in the book is the fault screens of the prisoners. So in this new prison, instead of having a cell, there are kind of hospital wards, and the prisoners are bedbound and comatose, as I've mentioned, and it kind of resembles an intensive care unit. The prisoners are actually hooked up to machines that kind of operate their heart and lungs like an intensive care ward. And there are two computer screens above their heads. One screen displays their health statistics, like their heart rate and their blood pressure and BPM and stuff. But there's a second screen that's called a fault screen, and that displays their brain activity and actually displays what the inmates are thinking. It displays images of the inmates' subconscious minds, and they're called fault screens. And this second excerpt is a description of Eric Trammell, the protagonist, when he first walks into one of these wards, and the first time he sees a fault screen, and it's quite disturbing for him. So here we go. A set of thin white sheets covered the man's legs and torso, with wires and tubes running out from under the sides, in an arrangement one would expect to see in an intensive care unit at a state hospital. This arrangement was slightly different, however, because the man's ankles and wrists were buckled and strapped down to the steel bed frame. This detail made Eric's spine tingle with a fear he could not quite describe. And then it grew worse when he saw the man's head. His hair had been completely shaven off, and a dozen electrodes clung to his rough scalp, with thin wires running down across his shoulders like a Medusa wig. His eyelids were closed, and everything about his gaunt face suggested that he was completely unconscious, but the screens above his head told a different story. One screen showed the rugged, zigzagging lines of his health statistics and heart rate, as one would expect to see in such a setting. But it was the second screen that caught Trammell's attention. This one was a whirlwind of swirling pictures and images, all cascading across the screen like an out-of-control acid trip. Is that what I think it is?" said Eric, his voice slow and quivering. Grella sniffed, then said, "That's his fault screen. It displays his unconscious thought processes. What you're seeing there is what's going on in his head." Eric was completely transfixed, staring up at the screen like a slack-jawed simpleton. Picturesque landscapes drifted by in spinning slideshows. Colourful shapes wriggled and writhed across the screen in a reptilian manner. Houses and buildings zoomed in and out of view. Random distorted faces and figures came and went in a flash. Animals and mythical-looking creatures danced and climbed through moving mazes. And periodically, embedded within this carnival of colour and mayhem, lines of text and numbers would scroll up and down, or weave themselves through the activity like a digital snake, its information-filled body representing the sums or riddles that were being processed by the man's subconscious mind. The sight was beyond captivating, and for a long time Trammell was lost in the dreamy colours as they flashed, faded, blended and danced into each other. There you go, that's a fault screen. So those two excerpts kind of sum up the novel, or they give you a good picture of what the novel's like. There are lots of scenes within this prison. There are lots of scenes where you see that the inmates' faults via the fault screens. It's like a bizarre sci-fi crime prison novel or novella. It's quite a quick read as well, actually. Just about 120 pages or so, I think, or about 25,000 words. So this is a special book to me. This book has been slowly matured as well. It's taken me 5 years to write it. I've slowly edited it along the way. Nothing's been rushed. What you're going to read is like the polished, finished product. And I've honestly never read anything quite like it. There are many weird sci-fi novels out there, but I've never read a novel about a prison where the inmates have got their brains wired up to the prison. I don't think I've ever read that before, and I'm really genuinely looking forward to people's reactions to this upon reading it. I mentioned the available platforms where you can get this book on the last video. My advice is to get the book from Amazon. However, you can also get the book from Smashwords. I will leave both of those links in the description box below. Amazon and Smashwords, you can pre-order it. The official release date is the 1st of February 2021. And I would also like to quickly mention that you can read the first 3 chapters of this book for free. If you fancy dipping your toe in the water first, try before you buy. You can read the first 3 chapters and you can find them at the members only page of jamesflynn.org. They're on there right now, the first 3 chapters. Okay, if you want to read a little bit before you buy it, you can find the first 3 chapters there. And that's it. I really hope you read the book. I really hope you enjoy the book, and I can't wait to see your reaction. Please contact me and leave your comments. You can leave a comment on this video, or you can leave a comment on Amazon after you read the book. Just tell me what you think. I can't wait to see your reactions. So thanks very much for watching, and try to have a great day on this weird, wonderful, peculiar, intriguing rock we call Earth. Goodbye.